Hello, everybody. Welcome to Profiling Evil by Mike King. It's not choir practice. We just didn't have time to make that last-minute change on the banner at the bottom. It's a special night, though. We're doing a book signing tonight, so we got the whole back office and family in the back stuffing thousands of envelopes to get these books out to you. And I just barely finished on the Adventures with Purpose channel, so I'd like to bring Jared and team on real quickly. And there we go. We got Sam finally, and maybe you're on a sound that we can hear now. And,
I came over to maybe.
Mike Bishop, Muddy Bottom Adventures. This is great, folks. If you haven't been to Muddy Bottom Adventures, make sure you're going over there and subscribing. And of course, keep subscribing to Sam, because I've now accepted the fact that Sam the Adventure Man is ahead of me. But I don't mind following. And I don't know if you remember the old commercials, Sam, but it's a lot easier being number two, because number one's always looking over their shoulder, watching to see how close. So just keep that in mind.
Right. Thank you.
Well, and Jared's in the background somewhere. I think he'll wander in. And guys, I'm signing books tonight while I'm doing this. Again, thanks to everybody that. Hold up your books. So. Mike and Sam and Jared got a special edition book that I sent over to them this week early. Caught them on the road where they were. Some of these have been signed and some haven't. So, and I'm signing like crazy, because we're stuffing envelopes like crazy to get these out. Thank you to everyone who has purchased this book, and for those of you that are interested, you can get it at profilingevil.com. Sam, did you read your?
I just read it, Mike. Thank you so much. I appreciate this.
Good, Mike. Did you get yours?
Absolutely, and I look forward to reading it.
I appreciate you guys, and there's Jared in the background. This is great.
And I'm gonna duck out for like 5 minutes because I've not eaten like most of the day, and they brought me food. We're in the hotel room, so these two are going to take good care of you.
Perfect. I thought you might be jumping out to go order more copies of this for your own circle of friends. But we got some pretty heavy stuff to talk about tonight. Oh, I want to bring in Francis Gaines. Francis, how are you tonight?
Hello, Francis.
Hi, Francis.
Hello.
It is so good to see you again, Francis, and it's been an honor as Mike and I have had the chance to be on a few conversations with you and talk more about Brian, get to know him better. One of the things that I always find important, both Sam and Mike, when you're doing an investigation, too often the first thing people want to know is the whodunits. And what we've learned after looking at hundreds and thousands of cases is that the first question that really should be answered is, who is the victim and why did they become a victim? And so, Francis, this has been wonderful. And I don't know, would you take 30 or 60 seconds and just help everyone understand what an amazing young man Brian is? And, I keep in my mind, I have the one photograph that you share a lot where his hair's in something, but I have the other one where he's with family that I just love. Tell everybody just who Brian McKenzie is.
Well, his I have to say first, his ethics very strong. He's all about working. The moment he learned the value of a dollar at 16 years old, got his first job, it was like straight shot from there. Hard worker. He's very loving, emotional, giving, trusting. And I'm not just saying that because this is my son. If you could ask anyone that knew him, that knows him, that they would say the same. He would take his shirt off his back for you if you needed it. He was very open-minded. He loved to share his thoughts, and he liked to read the Bible a lot, and send me verses of it to my phone sometimes. And I don't, be honest with you, I don't go to church. I feel that God can hear me anywhere that I talk. And that's what I would always tell him. Brian, doesn't matter where you're at. You know, you can pray in the privacy of your own home. He'll hear you. He's like, yes, I know, Mom, but I don't see you opening up that book. And, you know, big brother, loves his sisters and his little brothers, and just, he always would be the one to encourage. And if he knew you're feeling down, he wanted to bring your spirit up. He'd act kind of goofy, you know, and do some kind of silly dance. And when I would feel down, he's like, "You want to cook a meal, Mom?" And he knew cooking. I love to cook. So when he smelled food, he'd go over there and be like, "What are you cooking?" And he's my prince. He's my rock.
That's awesome. Thank you. And Mike, I know you and I have had quite a few discussions. Who is the Brian McKenzie that you've come to know?
Honestly, I think she hit the nail on the head. Everything I've heard about this young man is just heart of gold, just a pure, personable, loving individual who cared about his family, always tried to do the right thing. And, you know, those qualities are hard to find in some young people nowadays. And I think it speaks very highly of the character that Brian had. And so that to me is what defines Brian.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So, you know, I want to just shout out to all of the Profiling Evil family that are on tonight, and all of those who have come over from Adventures with Purpose, from Sam the Adventure Man, from Muddy. Let's see. Let me get this right, Mike.
Okay, Jared.
What do you need from me?
He just pulled it, Jared.
Yeah, Muddy Bottom Adventures.
Bottom Adventures. Yes.
There we go. And I just want to thank you, and I want to thank everybody that is in the chat tonight. And Francis, I want to thank you again. It is really good, and we have such great audio tonight. Thank you. But you know, Mike and I have been spending a lot of time kind of going over all of the information. We've had a number of I can't think of how many texts we've sent back and forth with you, and how many open discussions that we've had in regard to this. But Mike, I want you to kind of set the groundwork, and then I'd like to kind of remind everybody Brian's movement on that September day and what we know to date when it comes to a location and what we know location-wise. And for all of you who are doing these kind super chats, Mstall Z and others, thank you so very much. But Mike, why don't you share just what you've been working on, and then let's go into the geography of this. Absolutely.
For me, after watching the first live stream regarding Brian, the timeline just wasn't clear. So that was what I set out to find first and try to nail down timelines and where, when, why, all of that. So it was really important for me to get all of that information in the correct order so that we can then narrow down where we could where the possibilities were as far as a water search. So, reaching out to Francis, and I'll be honest with you, we're about to go over a lot of information that has not been shared and was not known prior to the last live stream. So it's, very interesting to see the timeline develop and the locations and all that. So, that was the most important part for me.
Well, let's we'll go in, and Francis, there may be some slight corrections that you have. I think what we really want to do is help all of the listeners kind of grasp where we are and some of the different areas, and then we're going to kind of bounce in and out with questions along the way. Some may be for you, Mike. I have a bunch for you, and I want to talk about some of the areas that we think are going to be important to search when you guys get out there in another week or so. So let's just jump to that map and to orient everybody, obviously the United States, but the first place that we're going to go is right into the community where Francis lives, and we're going to look at all of the points that are of real interest in this kind of an investigation. And it's relatively a small area that we're talking about. I mean, this I don't know the population of this town, but I want you to note that on the far left side, we have the McKenzie home where Francis lives. And then over on the far right, we have where most of the activity occurred. So if we were to bounce into here on that morning, Brian gets up and he probably leaves for work about 7:45 in the morning, and he makes the drive over to Denny's where he's working. And there's really nothing remarkable that's happening on his mobile phone during the day, but things start to kind of get moving as his shift comes to an end at 3:30 in the afternoon. He, at that point, receives a text, and after getting some gas here at the gas station next to the Denny's, for some reason, he goes across the street to the Speedway, and there he pauses for a moment. And I want to just stop there for a moment, Francis, and say, we've talked about the fact that he could have been looking at maybe texts on his phone or making a phone call. We know that he made a call at that time and he texted, but this wasn't really something that remarkable, was it, that he would pull over there to look?
No, and we're not really sure if maybe he picked someone up because of from the camera footage of him going into the parking lot. It's the video footage from Pilot. That's as far as it got when he pulled up into the driveway. So as he goes further, we don't know if someone gets into the car or, and then he leaves from there. But from the information that I've got from anonymous person, it's a text that he received from Sean saying to come over to the house. And
so let's kind of follow that pathway. Mike, you got something there you want to say?
So it was very clear. It was very clear that we know for sure that Brian went to Sean's house. And before, in the last live stream, it kind of sounded like he left Speedway and went to the Dollar Tree and then to Sean's house. But we now know that that is not the case in the timeline, that he did go to Sean's house. And something had to bring him there. So a text, a phone call, whatever. We know that, there's talk of him buying marijuana or whatever the case may be there. But we know he was there, and we know with eyewitnesses that Keenan was there.
So that's really where they come together in time, isn't it? And I thought it was interesting, and I hope I have this correct on the map, but Keenan actually lived pretty darn close to Whitwright, and yet still we know that they're at Whitwright's home, and there they then make a decision to leave, and the next thing we have is a short phone call that Francis gets, followed up by what we know is video CCTV camera footage of Brian inside of the Dollar Tree, so that we
Right. Let me clarify real quick on that. When you go back to the neighborhood, a lot of time Keenan spent he would stay at Sean's house. So he had an RV in the back that he would stay in. And then we also know that Keenan would stay in hotels when he had business to take care of. The house that you pointed out was actually Keenan's grandmother.
Ah, okay.
So
This is interesting because we have
you have Sean's house there, and then the other house is the grandmother's house.
Okay, so then he heads down to the Dollar Tree, and we see the transaction that occurs there. We see him on CCTV, and there becomes a little bit of a question as to whether the Dollar Tree comes after a visit to the home or before, or if it was just in between and they circle back and go back to the house. And I don't know that we've ever solved that question, have we?
No, we still have a gap in the timeline there. We are not 100% positive, because we're getting ready to lead into another piece of information that we gathered from a witness that we don't have a time frame, right? We know they went to this particular location and they were seen together. We just don't know what time that was and how long they spent there.
Now, Francis, there was a really intriguing conversation, and I don't know what you can share and don't feel like you should share at this point, but we know that at least at the Dollar Tree that Keenan and Brian are in the same vehicle at the same time. Is there anything you want to add to help support that?
Just that he repeated the phone call that my son and I had, and gave him a chance. And I believe that it was a chance to say goodbye to me and let me know that he loved me. And it most likely was because he knew that something bad was going to happen. And he gave him that opportunity to say his last goodbyes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty significant. And the things that you and Brian talked about, someone wouldn't know unless they were in the car with him. I don't think he would repeat that to somebody else.
No, he wouldn't. And it's amazing that he did. And those are his words. So, and there's no doubt about it because it was word for word. And I don't know what it was that he promised him after letting him make that phone call to me, but he obviously didn't stick to his promises because my son is gone. He's nowhere to be found. I don't know where he is. I don't know what happened. I just know he's the last one that was with my son. And
yeah,
there's so many witnesses to prove that he was with my son.
Yeah, and we have this kind of moment in time where we don't know if they went back up to the residence or not, up to Whitwright's residence. But what we do know is they end up then at the Scottish Inn. And Mike, maybe you could talk a little to this about the fact that not only did they end up at the Scottish Inn, but then not very long after that, they migrate over to Knight's Inn. And that's really about the last time that we have any kind of contact where we really know Brian is in a physical location. What are your thoughts?
So the Knight's Inn, actually, so we know he was seen, Brian and Keenan were seen by this eyewitness at the Scottish Inn, which when you follow the timeline makes sense. We know that Keenan stayed at the Scottish Inn, but the day before had been kicked out. And that's where he primarily would go to do his business. And we have a ping off of Ridgecrest, I believe, which would lead him in that direction from the Dollar Tree to the Scottish Inn. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, the Knight's Inn is actually where Keenan checked in later on that day and was not seen with Brian there. We do not know where they went after the Scottish Inn.
Okay. So since that time, and I want to talk about the cell phone records in a minute, but since that time, there have been a couple of interesting sightings that we should probably talk about. One came a few days later when, well, actually, was it 2 days later that someone felt like they saw Brian's vehicle stuck in the mud?
That was the November, December timeframe. So that was a little over, well, a month to 2 months later.
Okay. And in that particular situation, what it was a hunter who, Francis, you actually ran into while you were doing a search in that area. And he shared with you that they saw the vehicle there and it was stuck there for a couple of days. He didn't know how long before that, but that it disappeared shortly after. Can you go into that a little bit and talk about what you remember on that particular day?
Yes, I was searching with a few of my searchers, and this gentleman in a blue truck showed up and was asking what we were doing, and I showed him a flyer and I introduced my son's story to him, and I expressed to him how I was desperately trying to find my son, and he disappeared with my Jeep, my 2006 Jeep Liberty, and it was a black one, and he said, you know what, there was an SUV stuck over here, and he pointed down the road where the water was. I said, can you show me exactly? So he took me to the middle of the Forkerdale River where the bridge is, and he pointed up to the right, and he said, you see that muddy area right there? That's where it sat. It sat there for a couple of days, and I have a witness that was with me. He hunts with me, and then when we came back, it was gone. It wasn't there anymore. And he said he was more than happy to talk to the detectives about it and let them know. But I'm not sure what happened after that, because whatever they share with the detectives, it doesn't get back to me.
Yeah, that was interesting. And we don't see the vehicle again for nearly another 30 to 45 days. Is that right?
Right.
Correct. It was spotted. We have an honest physical description of the Jeep sometime in January. Not sure exactly what the day was, but it was a trusted source, first off, and they literally described the license plate, read the license plate number off, and recognized the two stickers in the back glass.
Yes, it was my boss's brother. He remembers it because he was born 1967. So on the license plate, the last ones were 67, and he let his brother know about it, and that's the owner of the store that I work at. And he said, Francis, my brother has to speak to you about something. And that was back in January. It was actually before I even started working there at Tulum. And I wanted so badly to speak to him, so I asked him if he could please give me the number, because I guess the detectives were, I was letting them know about it. They wanted to speak to him. Got his phone number, and I gave it to the detectives. And then when I met him, I asked him about it, and he said, yes, I remember it when I was doing catering, taking some food to the hospital, because he does catering. He's a catering manager. And he's very smart, and he has a very good memory. And he said, and it's a limited edition, and you don't find too many like that. It had the chrome on the side. It was going straight, and it looked like it was in a hurry. I looked at the stickers. I seen the license plate, and I turned right to do the delivery. Tell me when I talk too much.
And if I got that, if I remember that part of the story right, it actually was here on North Highland. Is that correct? In Skyline, which would, if we oriented everyone back to where everyone lives and where the offices are, it's just a few miles south of the Denny's and Scottish Inn and everything else.
Correct.
Yes, it's going towards downtown to the east side of Jackson.
Yeah, so the thing that I think is so interesting here, Francis, that I think is important to point out, and Mike, you and I spent some time talking this through, is knowing Brian, watching your conversations on text and cell prior to his disappearance. Is there any way on earth this kid wouldn't be in touch with you over 90 days if he was still driving that vehicle?
If my son was,
Yes.
oh, my son would have came home. My son would have never not came home. He would call me, he would text me. If he lost his phone, he'd walk home. He knows exactly where he lives, or he would have called a friend or walk to a friend's house and had them bring him home. There is no way that he would be gone this long.
Yeah. So the hard realities are that there is no way anyone else would be driving this vehicle around, and Brian wouldn't have gone 90 days without reaching out and talking to you, or now you're saying even coming home. Even if he felt like he wanted to live on his own, you would have heard from him in that period of time if he were
Most
able
definitely.
to communicate. Yeah. So I thought it raised an interesting question, Mike, and you and I have talked to Francis about this, but Francis, you've continued to maintain the insurance on this vehicle. And did you ever report it stolen?
I could not, because I filed a missing persons report on my son. He is missing with my vehicle. So with that being said, when I called the insurance company, I let them know my son's missing. And I'm still paying the insurance on it just in case someone finds it. They said, you cannot, unless the police department and we get a report saying that it's stolen, it has to remain missing. I told them to please call my detective. I guess they did speak to them, and my detective said that it couldn't change it because it would hurt my son's case, because right now they're not only looking for my son, they're looking for the Jeep.
So I think we need to
They
explore
would
that
change
further.
it and separate it, and they would have to make a new report.
Yeah. I think we need to look at getting you some help in that regard, because in my opinion, that vehicle should be classified as stolen so that you're free of that obligation. Frankly, you should be given the money you've paid in insurance since Brian disappeared, and that case should reflect that there could be something like him missing for criminal reasons and that vehicle being stolen, because there's evidence, eyewitness reports that suggest that vehicle is still being driven around. But regardless, even if the vehicle is not being driven around, you shouldn't have to continue to do that. So I want to talk about that at the end. Jared, Mike, Sam, I think there's some things that together we can do to maybe help Francis in this regard. And I don't know that I agree with law enforcement that you can't report this vehicle stolen after this amount of time, especially given some of the things that you know about suspects involved in the case. So I'd like to explore that a little further with you as we continue to talk. But I was interested because then the vehicle was also spotted down on Airways Boulevard, and I can't remember the entire story on that, but maybe Mike, you or Francis could fill me in on that.
Absolutely. Around the same time frame that her boss's brother saw the vehicle, there was another individual that saw or allegedly saw the Jeep going west on Airways Boulevard. So it was, I would say, probably within a week of each other.
Now, I believe this is an area where you and Adventures with Purpose are going to do a little bit of searching and try to have some kind of impact on that area. What's your plan there?
Well, we already have permission from the from the owners. It's owned by a company actually, and you know, supposedly, if you bring that map up again, I can kind of walk you through it. You have multiple ponds on the north side of the road that sits behind. You know, there's a handful of businesses over there on the north side of the road that we will look at, but just south of that road, I don't know how deep these ponds are. I was not given that information. This large pond right that we're looking at here on the right side of the screen is said to be anywhere from 60 to 65 feet deep. They were told before by another party that there's no way that pond was deep enough. So that is obviously on our list of places to go, because when you hear 65 feet deep, it's like, yeah, you could easily get to it.
And we've heard 230 plus feet deep before on other ponds, and it turns out to be 4 feet.
Right.
So
right. But this was actually the guy who runs the business, not the owners, but the guy who runs the business is the one who gave us that information. So there's actually, Mike, if you'll go back north of the road and to the milky looking lake is where they're operating now. That one's 75 feet deep. So this company pulls sand from these ponds, and so they just keep going until they run into a possible erosion problem or anything like that. So that's why that other pond is shut down.
Yeah. So Jared, when you have a pond that's chalk gray like this, how on earth do you even search that thing other than, I guess, with sonar, or what do you do?
Sonar, 100%. I mean, we can go in blackout conditions. I mean, blindfold me, we're going to find it as long as topside, you allow me to have sonar so I can see the image, and then we put a magnet on it or we latch onto it with a grappling hook. And then from there, now we just go straight down the line, and now we're on it.
That's good. Well, Francis, I continued to look at this a little closer, and I wanted to just add something else that I think we need to go back and talk to law enforcement about in regard to this case, and that is I went in and I continued to look at, let me just pull this up. I continued to look at the map from the country, but what I did is I went in and I plotted, and this is kind of a disturbing image, but I think it's important to talk about. This represents all of the males who have their bodies have been recovered in the United States since the time that William disappeared. I mean, it's so sad when we think about the volume that this represents. But one thing that I thought would be interesting is to just talk about the fact that was DNA ever collected by law enforcement on Brian so that they could, so they have this signature of his DNA that they could compare against these other, we call them unidentified bodies, but that they could compare against these other bodies to see if his body has turned up in different areas of the country. What I did is I went in a little further and I just plotted out where the closest 12 bodies that have been found are located in the United States. And it's a pretty darn big area, but it's a place where I think you could go. This is a rather incomplete list of bodies that have been recovered, sadly, in the country, but it's the best that I have publicly available. But this would be a good place, I think, for you to also go back and talk to law enforcement and ask them if they have gone out and investigated these things and looked at those as another possibility as you look for Brian. That's a pretty rough thing to throw at you, but I thought it would be really important that you realize that there still are places where we can search for him while you continue to do your grassroots efforts locally. And I wanted to just get your thoughts on that. And then, guys, what I'd like to do is maybe throw some ideas out and then ask our viewers to help us with a couple of ideas. So, Francis, go ahead. Oh, Mike, go ahead.
We did miss a pretty important piece of information that we talked about earlier, Mike. That we have two accounts of the same thing. Sean's story and then the story of the friend. Do you want to cover that now, or do you want to wait?
No. Why don't you go ahead and cover that? Yeah.
Okay. So one of the more pivotal things that I was told after talking to Francis was that Sean was arrested via his warrant shortly after Brian disappeared. And a person that was in the jail with him said that Sean basically set Brian up, and he was robbed in a field near Humboldt, which is not very far from where they were, or even the Scottish End for that matter. And now we just found out today that there is a second account of a relative of the gentleman who was murdered on October 4th. And basically saying that he wasn't robbed, or wasn't about a gun sale or anything of that nature. It was actually because that gentleman knew too much. He knew what happened to Brian, and that's why Keenan killed him. So that leads me more to Humboldt now that we have two different individuals that have come forward and given us pretty much the exact same story. So, that honestly is the first place I'm going to go. We've actually been given an area that's right near the river. It's a field, and we've got coordinates, got that. But there's also a story that owner of that particular piece of land had a black SUV towed off of his property. So a lot of interesting information that has come out over time, but that right there, when you get multiple people saying the same thing, the same information, I mean,
So where did this? If the owner had a black SUV pulled off the property, he knows who he called.
Yes. So I do not know. I got the last name of the owner. Of course, this all happened today, so I haven't really been able to dig into it. I got the last name of the owner. We obviously have ways of finding out the information of that individual. So we've got the coordinates, and we are going to look in it. I believe it's in a neighboring county, though. So the tax would have been different. I don't know. But we need to find out what type of car.
But when a car is towed, the insurance, the tow company has to run the plate, so They would have known. But the car's never been reported as stolen. Is it in the police system that the car is missing or stolen, or where are we at on that one, Francis?
I've been to one of the recycling places where they take the cars, pick them up. It's called Dudley's Recycling. When I went there, the lady opened the book, and I sat with her, and she went through her entire book trying to see if my son's SUV had been turned in. She goes, I showed the detectives when they got here too. And she was going through the book, and there was spots where it would say it was an SUV, but there was no VIN number. There was a few of them that they failed to input all the information in those parts. And I said, well, that could have been, we're human, we make mistakes. Well, okay, you make a mistake, but you're playing with someone's life. I let her go through the entire book with me, but it is not, they do not do their jobs at every single one of them. I know from the experience sitting there with her, and she went through several pages, and there was several mistakes, and not all the information was in the areas it should have been in. The VIN numbers weren't there, the model, the type of vehicle, it was just a signature. And they pretty much took vehicles and didn't put all the information on there. She's showing me a book. She's trying to convince me that my Jeep was not there. You're convincing me that you have horrible workers and they don't do their job right. And you now got me wondering, my Jeep could have been here. But she went through the book with me, like I said, and there's so many empty spots. All the information is not in all those pages.
Yeah.
So it's a possibility at any of these places that they say that they write all the information down. No, they don't. And are they legit? Do they need a title? No, they also said that after 2006, they don't require one. Or is it under 2006, they don't require one? They'll take a vehicle. So
Yeah, this always highlights some real breakdowns and one of the things that I've wondered about in your particular case, Francis, because you are so closely involved in every single thing, I know that you have some wonderful friends who are helping you, but one of the things I'd like to do is see if there's somebody on our channel who lives in the area that is really good at organizing and communicating that could help be an advocate in between you and law enforcement, that could meet with law enforcement monthly and just try to get some kind of an assessment of what's going on. Or if you feel like you've got that covered enough as it is and you don't need something like that. But
no, by all means, please. I'd appreciate it. I pray for it every night.
This is maybe an area that we could really help, Jared, is combine our family of viewers to look for someone who's in the Jackson, Tennessee area that could help Francis from a fundamental standpoint of organization. Maybe it's even as simple, Francis, as taking some of the pressure off of you on the actual searches and work with the police department on areas that they think would be important to look at. And I would throw out a challenge if there's anyone that is into GIS mapping, that we also need someone that can help her to really start to cordon off areas and secure areas and say we've searched this particular area and move on to the next. But I'd like to see that in coordination with law enforcement, not happening independently, because you need them on your side. As frustrating as it is to work with them at times, we really need to have them on your side. Jared, could you guys push that as well on your channel as you push out videos on this, when you, especially next week, when you get out there and search?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the appropriate time for all of us to roll this out properly and to help you, Francis, in this is, one is we are as a team. I'm sure that we have a few others are going to roll over into the area as well as to help us out. So we're going to be with you on the 26th, checking out, these bodies of water and doing what we can from the water side of it. Also, I think that what we need to do, if we are unsuccessful in finding Brian for you that day, we do need to do a live stream that night that we can, bring everybody, the newest information that we have for you, or for you as well as for them that evening, and to help put out a plea of, one is, let's do a live stream to help raise some funds for you, because there's absolutely no reason. It makes me upset that you've been paying on this insurance for the past year, and our viewers have just been incredible. And I know that they'll help step up to the plate, and let's see what we can do to help cover the insurance that you've paid for the last year. I feel like the insurance company should give you this money back, but we don't want you, hurting, because you're going to work every single day and it's still coming out of your pocket. You're hurting with the loss of not knowing where Brian's at, but you're hurting financially as well along the way. And with our entire organization network, I know that we can step in and help you with that. So, regardless, we're going to do everything, regardless whether our viewers step in and not and help raise those funds, I'll make sure that out of my own pocket, and I know that Mike will kick in with me as well, because I'm going to commit him to it. But we're going to make sure. We're going to make sure that we cover whatever your insurance was on the Jeep for this past year. And let's also see if we can find an advocate for you I think Mike and I talked about this. Let's see if we can find an attorney or somebody that will do pro bono to help you get out of this with the insurance company and work with you. And we're here for you, Francis.
Yeah, I think that is the next thing I want to talk about, Jared, and that is to the same group of people. I mean, we have almost 2,000 people listening, and there will be thousands more that listen over the coming days. We also need an attorney in the area that can represent you in a couple things. One is we have to get someone that will sit down with law enforcement and change the classification, get that vehicle listed as stolen so that you can get your back insurance. And I think you've had enough to worry about with trying to find Brian, that I think we have a pretty easy way of going back to the insurance company and saying that money needs to be retroactively returned. If not, we're going to cover that for you regardless. But if not, if they won't do it, I'd like to know who the insurance company is, not right now, but I'd like to know who they are, because I think we could certainly share with our community who the insurance company is that won't help this mom out. The second thing is, I really think if you know of an attorney in the Jackson, Tennessee area that will help Francis with a couple of things. We need to get this insurance issue taken care of. And we need someone, Francis, that can help you with things like the FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests, so that you can get information from law enforcement. But let's set up someone to be an advocate to help you communicate with law enforcement. Some things law enforcement can't tell you, but we should have communication, and we'll work toward helping you with that as well. And I want to just give you a moment to respond, and Jared, for you, Mike, Sam, to respond. And then I wanted to just jump for the last little bit into what we've been doing with the phone records that you've provided, just to kind of make it clear that there's still things that can be looked at, and we're still going to try to look at them for you. But I don't know what your thoughts are, Francis.
Well, first, I want to remind you guys of Chris. Remember the one that was on live with us last time? Chris, he lost his son 17 years ago. Do you remember Chris?
Yes, Chris McDonough.
Yes, very nice. We actually have a plan. We're working together. We just spoke earlier, and our plan of attack is to find the Jeep, to find my black Jeep Liberty. And this right here is going to be the key to finding my Brian. Not a very good picture, but he is just as great as you, Mike Bishop, so don't get jealous. You guys are just so wonderful.
Yeah,
I just
we're all
want to mention him.
I don't know where Chris is at tonight, but I think I actually saw him jump in here, and this was like almost like kind of a last minute thing for us because we're on the road as well. So if Chris wasn't in here, I know that he needs to be in, and we're all still working with Chris. So yeah, there's no hate on Chris.
I don't want to forget about him.
But I kind of want to ask a few more questions also, Francis. Since you and Brian were sharing this vehicle, is that correct? Like you had the one vehicle?
What was that?
You had the one vehicle that you and Brian were sharing.
We were sharing it back and forth. I have another vehicle, but that was a second vehicle. So I have a white Traverse also, and my husband needs a vehicle to be getting back and forth, to take the kids to school, to pick them up, take them, go to the store. So we'd switch off. He would use the Jeep, but he was not allowed to use it until he got his license. So I kept, encouraging him, get your license. You need to drive freely. You need to feel independent. I don't want you asking people for rides. I shouldn't have to drive you around. I want you to feel great. And he failed his first test, and he was pretty bummed about it. Then he took his test again, and he was excited. And then he had just passed it just weeks before his disappearance, and he just didn't know how to drive on the highway. The big trucks, he didn't feel comfortable around them because he says it felt like they were swaying him off the road. So he always stuck to the road. And when he drove me, he would always take Hopper Barker down. And I was like, where's this street taking us? He would say, this is the back road, Mom, because I don't take the other street. I don't want to take the highway. So he showed me some different ways here around in Jackson, and he felt confident, and he was a good driver. So Yes.
We as young men, I mean, we're incredible drivers. Just ask us, we'll tell you. So don't worry about us, Mom. Okay, we got it. Okay. So here's with this. I mean, are you currently down a vehicle that right now you and your husband are sharing a vehicle and it's causing a strain
Well,
for your family, or where are you at right now?
right now, the owner of the store had donated a red truck, but it kind of broke down and is sitting in the driveway right now. And then the other one just broke down, and he fixed it today, actually. So now we have the two vehicles.
Okay.
We have my Traverse that I'm paying on, and then I have the Hyundai he just fixed today.
Okay. So you're taking care from there.
Yes.
Okay. And are you hurting with the repairs that you've had to put out with this? And kind of where I'm going with this is, I mean, you're down a vehicle from that one. I think that really what needs to be done right now, just straight out of the gate with this, is, one is, I don't like it when other people put GoFundMes together for other people. But I think that in this certain scenario, what I would like to ask of you, Francis, is that you put together a GoFundMe that's going to be titled two different things. One is searching for my son, and I think that's really all it needs to be. I think that's what it needs to be, and that these funds are to be used for. Do not pay anybody to come in and help you searching for Brian. And I guess that's really not what the title should be. I'm going to say, really, we need to cover insurance and car repair costs. That's what this is for. Okay, so I need you to create a GoFundMe with a $5,000 request, and when we come and we are with you next week, we are going to put this out there, what that link is, so that way we can help you with the financial burden that you've experienced this past year with this one, because we know how the financial times have been over this past year. We understand the burdens. You have a truck that's currently broke down. You have the car repairs. You have the insurance you've been paying for. So we want to help raise $5,000. That I know that we're going to meet that limit for you within, a day or two. I can almost guarantee it, Mike. I mean, this is where we're at with the generosity of our people, that this is one family that needs our help. So, Francis, we're going to help you out with that. Ready to go for me. It's for insurance purposes, and it's for the repairs of your vehicle and the financial burden that you've experienced from this. Let's get that for you.
Yep, we'll do that. And we also have a couple of other YouTube crime.
And just to cover also, some people are saying GoFundMe takes a percentage. They actually don't take a percentage if you say 0%. I mean, it's kind of like a tip GoFundMe if you want to, for the service they're putting together. And so people need to understand the GoFundMe of today is not the same GoFundMe of the past. So please understand that.
I had one before, like a year ago, and
Yeah.
it's helped me out, like you said, to fix quite a bit of things. And
So
when I was at work for a little while, and then I had to get back to work because money don't grow on trees. You can't just go up to it and just pick a buck off or $1 or say, I need 100,
Yeah. So I think that's a good place for us to start with you, to help you. And, and if it goes way above and beyond that, I mean, it's going to help you so that way you can take time off work to continue your search, and you can focus on and use those funds for whatever you need to from the generosity of the viewers. So before we arrive there on the 26th in 6 days, please take the time to set that up and put whatever information that you need on there. And, hey, we're working with Adventure Purpose. We're working with Profiling Evil. Put a link to this particular live stream that Mike is doing tonight for additional information, so that way people understand, because one of the things that we also live in a crappy society where people don't believe everything. So, but our viewers know us, they trust us, they know Mike, and they trust him. So we're going to do everything we can for you to help you out in multiple ways here. Okay, Francis?
Can I just put this right here again one more time? My Jeep.
And we actually have quite a few people that are asking for that, Francis. So if you can scan it and send it, we'll post it up so that they can get that. And I want to just reiterate a couple of needs that we have them, folks. We'll look toward next week when we get back on to report on how the search goes, and use that as a way to drive toward the GoFundMe page. If there is someone in the Jackson, Tennessee area that can help Francis with organization and to serve as an advocate or a middleman with law enforcement. And we want somebody that has some real skill in that area. Please reach out to us through profilingevil@gmail.com, or just go to the webpage and do it through our evidence room. Also, a need for someone in GIS in the area that would be willing to help keep track of those maps. And then someone that knows a lawyer that can help Francis with some of these legal issues that we need to resolve. That would all be great. And hopefully we can report back next week, Jared, with what's going on there. Now, I haven't seen it, but somebody said Chris was in the chat. Chris will be pushing this on his channel. I know we have a guest coming on in just a moment who will push it on their channel, and the other YouTube true crime people, I think, would jump on this as a way to help out. So Francis will do that as well.
So let's plan on Central Time, or let's just go 4:00 Central Standard Time on the 26th, Francis. Let's plan on doing a live, and then at that time we'll have your GoFundMe, and then the other crime channels, as well as Mike and everybody, will push it out at that time as well to help you out. So, but fingers crossed, we can bring you answers that day and put this to rest for you as well. Okay.
That'll be great. And Francis, I don't know that you even care, but if you would like, I'd love to sign one of my books over to you right now, and we'll mail it to you. So you have my text. So text me your address, and I'm going to send that over to you. And we're going to move into we're doing a live book signing tonight. So we're going to move into that and just chat. But I'm going to say to each of you, thank you so much for coming on. And Francis, there's a bench behind you, and if we can do nothing more than continue to help you wave Brian's banner, we're going to do that. And hopefully along the way we'll give you some things that might really help as you continue your search for him. Maybe next week we can talk a little bit about some of the things we've done on the cell phone analysis. Although I don't know that it makes much of a difference, but we'll send you some things offline to help in that regard. So to all of you, thank you so much. We're going to go over and just have some fun now and talk a little bit about Deceived and visit with a few guests while we spend some time. So please continue to watch in the background. Hopefully Sam and Mike, Jared will give you something to eat, and you can just weigh in as you'd like.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike.
Francis, we'll see you.
Be seeing you
We'll
soon,
see you
Francis.
next week. Okay.
Thanks, Francis. Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, fellas.
Bye-bye.
Great to be with you. And I want to just jump right in with a guest that I promised a book to on Saturday. If we could bring in Linda from It's a Crime, I have a responsibility to fulfill. And Linda, I'm doing it right now. I'm going to sign this book over to you. And thank you for coming in tonight and just spending some time with me. How are you?
I am great. Thank you for having me on. I watched from the last hour and a little bit, and I do want to say that anything you need to spread the word for Francis and Brian, just let me know. And I can even do a little post or a video to see if there's some people who have the credentials you are asking for. I'm sure out of 140,000 plus people, actually 144, everybody's about the 144, the 144,000 that we could figure out something and maybe give her some help.
That would be fantastic. Thank you. And then next week when we have that GoFundMe, we could also
Yes.
have that posted on yours, and Chris will, I'm sure, do it, and others will do it. So let's plan on that. Now, Linda, I mean, we've had some folks just throw some super chats up. Elizabeth Gibb, thank you so much. Wishing best wishes to Francis, and she wants that to go to Francis, so we'll make sure that gets over. And Jessica Turner, thank you. She bought her book tonight, so thanks. You'll get it signed. I promised for a couple more days that I'd sign books, so thanks to all of you. Linda, we had a great chat about the West Boys the other day. While I write this, anything new? You had a psychologist on looking at the interviews, and I thought there might be some high-level things you'd like to share about
Oh,
that.
I actually was there's a funny story to that. I was looking at Peter Hyatt's statement analysis, who's a professional. Funny enough, I called him John throughout the whole thing because remember, you'll know this. You remember John Hyatt, Mike King?
Yes, I
Remember
do.
had a little faith in me, so I called him John throughout the whole entire thing, thinking Peter but saying John. So, oops.
That's awesome.
He just had some really interesting things to say about his statements, and he gleaned from just pulling these things about neglect with the children. And he said both the parents should be polygraphed. They should use the words, I guess, that relate to them. But I just found it fascinating. As you know, I like that kind of stuff, but very different because he just extracted words, whereas I kind of look at patterns and what they say with these different things. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, that is such an intriguing case, and of course, I keep pulling back on the reins with this voice of caution about this 13-minute interview, but I think all of our gut feelings are all in the same place, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that one rolls out. I hope you'll all go back and watch Linda's video it was 2 days ago, wasn't it, Linda? Or maybe yesterday, I don't know.
It was Saturday, or the one that I put up yesterday. I put up yesterday. Yeah.
Yesterday. Okay.
Woo, I know days go together.
Yeah, I lose track. And to Heidi Lee, who gave a super chat, sending her love to Francis. Really appreciate that. Mary Jetta, thank you. There have been such wonderful comments in here about Francis tonight. And isn't she just a delight? When we interviewed her a few weeks ago, our audio was so terrible. And tonight it was just crystal clear. So I was really grateful for that. But Linda, I don't know. I've got the whole family here tonight and all the back office. I don't know if you can.
I see a wave down over there. Hello.
And they're stuffing envelopes like crazy. It's been so gratifying. We talked about this.
Here's my back office.
Yeah, well, that's good.
That's what I have. Me, myself, and my back office.
Oh man, well, it was really fun to visit with you about the Zion Society, yes. And I appreciated you talking about that. It has been a work of 30 years in the making. I didn't think I would ever talk about the case again, but the kids, the victims in the case, who I still call kids, asked me a couple of years ago to please help them. And it took me a while to warm up to the idea of doing that. But it's been a real honor to help share their story. And they're so excited that they're finally having their voice heard. I received a text today from one of the survivors of that case, and it was so tender. I just and I won't share it because it's too tender, but it was just so nice to hear from them. Tammy, let's see. Love what you guys are doing. Thank you. I already ordered your book, and I'm looking forward to it, and I've signed it. So, yeah, I have signed it. But, Linda, is there anything that you would like to talk about for a couple minutes? And again, I can't thank you enough for jumping on. That was so kind of you.
Yeah, of course. You know what? Anybody who wants to see our 2-hour chat, they can go check out on my channel. We did it on Saturday. You were the special guest of the day, and it was really great. There's been some great feedback on it, and they just really loved the show. And you answer a lot about your book in there, so I'm sure they can climb over and take a look at that as well. And I still have people going, I just ordered his book. I can't wait to order it. They're still doing that. So just so you know.
Oh, that's awesome. Someone just popped up a question asking, and I've lost it already, but they asked if I had ever worked cases against Warren Jeffs. And interestingly, my responsibility at the Attorney General's office, thanks, Janet Condon, my responsibility at the Attorney General's office was all of the polygamous groups in the state. And so I, on a regular basis, was traveling to the polygamous communities and trying to have lunch with the self-proclaimed prophets of each group. And we would then use that. We had a program actually at that time called Safe at Home, which was instituted by our Attorney General by the name of Jan Graham. And the program basically said that no one should feel unsafe within the walls of their own home. And we used that to try to get into the polygamous groups. And of course, we asked the leaders of the groups to allow us to come in and teach how people could report abuse, which they didn't want to have us in there talking about that because they just kind of keep a closed society. But it was a way in which we could get in and let people know there are ways that they can report if there's something goofy going on. And so it was sad to see how the Colorado City group, as information unfolded, how terribly destructive things were in that group down there. But that's nice. So anyway, let me just see if there's a couple questions here. If you have any questions for Linda, I told her I would only keep her for 5 minutes, so I've already gone beyond that. But and again, thank you to everyone who is ordering books. We really appreciate it. We're going to sign for a couple of days, so anybody that's ordering, we'll try to sign that. And yeah, Four Sons mom, Jan Graham, was amazing. I actually had run for a Republican sheriff's position, Linda, at one time, and Jan Graham was a Democrat, and so I was her chief of staff, and she fondly called me her recovering Republican. And I just thought the world of her. She was an amazing and talented prosecutor, one of the few prosecutors who have actually argued in front of the Supreme Court, which was pretty impressive to be able to say you've done that. But well, Linda, thanks so much. It's just wonderful that you would take time to be here. And folks, if you have any questions for Linda, you've got 30 seconds left. And if not, Linda, other than facts that people love your sweater, I'll just ask you to come back and visit from time to time. And you know that I'm always willing to jump over and visit with you. Yeah. It's interesting, this true crime family, how it's kind of come together. I mean, I was on the phone yesterday with Duty Ron. I've been chatting with Vanessa about some things. And Nor, I think you really brought Nor into everyone's room, and it's been fun to watch what she's doing with the West kids. Mm-hmm. It's really quite a remarkable thing. I yesterday was speaking to Tricia Webb Sluice about some things she's working on, and it's pretty remarkable how everyone's come together.
It is cool. Once upon a time wasn't like that. I love it. Tell Duty Ron that I'm trying to get a hold of him.
Oh, all right. He probably, like the rest of us, gets tired of having to email, knowing your email box is full.
I know.
Well,
he gave me his number last week or whatever it was, and then I was like, I don't know what piece of paper I put it on.
Oh, well, we'll send it to you. We'll send you his number.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for jumping on.
Thank you for signing my book. I sent Skylar my address, so he has that.
Yeah, that Canadian shipping's no small thing, so I want you to know what a big deal that was.
I'll try and promote you a little more, sell a little couple.
Yeah. You're great. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, and the best to the mister.
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you for having me on, and we'll have you on again, I'm sure.
Thank you, Linda. Good
Bye,
night.
everybody. Love you.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, folks, let me just see if you've got a few questions. As I continue to sign books here, we'll answer a couple, but we thought it would be kind of fun to do a virtual book signing and just have some fun and answer questions. So if you have any questions, the back office will pop them up, and hopefully we'll be able to do something. Steve Anderson says, "Tell your kids to be louder." I don't know if he's talking to me. I got my grandkids running back and forth in the back room, and we've got the whole family here trying to stuff these envelopes. Plus, our other loved friends. Come on over, say hi. We've got I'll put we've got Tim wandering in the back, and so everybody's trying to stay masked up and do their part. So folks, if you have any specific questions, be happy to answer them. I'll tell you quickly about the book if you're interested in the book. Again, it's called Deceived, and it is about an investigation of a ritualistic child sexual abuse cult. And because the subject is so difficult, we chose not to go into the ugly, seedy side of the investigation, to call it like it was, that the crimes actually occurred. There were literally hundreds and hundreds of assaults on these little children. We rescued 32 children from the cult, and 12 people were convicted for crimes of sexual assault against the children. But we didn't want to talk about the ugliness of the event. What we wanted to do was focus on, why do people become deceived by these destructive cults? How do they get involved? The question is, how long did it take to investigate? It really is remarkable, because we learned about the crimes on the 10th of July, and by the 2nd of August, we were serving a search warrant with some 70 police officers raiding 10 different homes all at once. It was a very complex investigation. But after learning about the crime and sitting down with the county attorney, he basically said, everything else stops. If children are at risk, we need to do a full court press. And thankfully, I was given access to anyone that I needed to help me, and we assembled an incredible team of skilled interrogators, skilled investigators, child victim advocates, and we were able to work in short time. But we worked around the clock. It was a terribly complex investigation, and because there were concerns about survivalist attitudes and concerns about the storing of assault rifles, and that they were planning on protecting their compound, we had to be really careful. And of course, we also had to be very careful that they didn't know we were coming, because we risked not only evidence being destroyed, but the children being relocated. So the answer is, it was 30 days of investigation initially, 2 years of investigation after the raid, and then of course the trials took 2 years to get through, and we speak about why we brought the trials to a close. But again, the book was written to explore not only the investigation, but it was written to explore the way in which these survivors rose above what they were put through and became the victors in the end. And after 30 years, we brought together the victims, and for the first time in 30 years, they were able to see and talk to each other and embrace each other. And it was really quite an emotional time. If you didn't see it on the Dr. Phil show, look up on drphil.com, Zion Society and Investigator Meets Victims, and you'll see me bobbling and boobing as I meet these kids for the first time face to face after 30 years. And it was a wonderfully sweet moment for me. But more importantly, you'll also hear about how we were able to look at the mistakes that we made, and even 30 years later still rectify some things that we fell short on, and we explore that in here. So again, please, if you haven't ordered Deceived, order it. Any orders that come through over the next couple of days, I'm going to personally sign, and thank you so very much for doing it. So let me see if there are some other questions. Let's see. Well, thank you, Janet. I appreciate that. Let's see. You posted the book worldwide or just U.S.? Oh, thank you for asking that. So what we've done is we have decided that you can buy it worldwide at profilingevil.com. So you can see across the bottom of the banner there, you can pick it up. And the only downside is in the U.S., the shipping is only a few dollars. Overseas, it might double the price of the book in some areas. But the plan is in a couple of months, we will go to Amazon and allow that to hit the national or international market. And you'll be able to buy it and have it printed and shipped locally and delivered to you. We'll also be coming out in a couple of months with an ebook version and a audio version. And so there'll be a number of ways, especially for folks who are a long ways away. We'll ask the back office, Robin, if they can put up a link to where you can see the Dr. Phil show. Again, if you just Google search Dr. Phil Zion Society, here you can see the spelling on the screen, Zion Society and Investigator, or Zion Society will get you into where you can see most of the clips there. And then again, like I say, the book will be available worldwide shortly. But what we wanted to do is kind of control the delivery of it at first and make sure that we were kind of controlling how it went out. We were given the opportunity to go to a couple of big name publishers. And because I was fearful that they might take the story and just explore the ugliness of the story rather than the rising above that event, we decided to self-publish, and I'm really glad that we did. And boy, it's been just a amazing response from all of you. So thank you so much for that as well. So let's see if we have a couple of other questions. Thanks, Mimi J, too, for ordering. It's been fun to see the books and the names because I recognize so many of you. Thank you. And of course, I got to say thanks to Linda and Duty Ron and Web Sleuths and Adventures with Purpose who have been pushing this. Of course, Dr. Phil has been really kind about pushing it. He's now mentioned the book on several of his episodes. And then Dr. Judy Ho has had me talking on her podcast that will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. And then a number of others. Ed Opperman recently did one on his national talk show. And then there are a couple through the cult research groups that will be coming out with podcasts on it. And then we're going to actually, in the coming weeks, start talking about it in special segments on Profiling Evil, where I'll actually have the victims on the podcast with me and on the YouTube broadcast with me. We'll also invite in police officers who were on the raid, investigators who helped with the actual interviews and interrogations of offenders. And we're going to have some of the social services caseworkers. This actually was the first case in the newly built Children's Justice Center. And so probably in the next week or two, we're going to have the director of the Children's Justice Center, which is an advocacy center with forensic examiners who can now do the examination of children, not only physically, but emotionally, who have been involved in abuse cases. They will be on, and I'll have the prosecutor who managed this case and got convictions on all 12 individuals that we took to trial on to talk about some of the things that we learned there. We'll even talk about some of the amazing things that have happened since then to hopefully bless the lives of the victims in this case. So let me just see if there are any other questions here that would be maybe interesting to to talk about. Let's see. No signed copies if it goes to Amazon. That's correct, Jeannie Mihalovic. We obviously can't control that because those are managed by Amazon, and we lose control. That's another reason why we wanted to do it through the Profiling Evil channel, is that we could control it and try to give a little better customer service to all of you who have been so kind to us. And so, and again, I got to just say to those of you who provide help to us financially through the channel memberships or through your super chats, it makes all of the difference in us being able to roll out quality content. And we're really grateful to be able to report that we've been able to donate a lot of what's come in to organizations like Operation Underground Railroad or the Children's Justice Center. Recent weeks, we've been helping a victim of one of the crimes that we've been talking with some financial assistance. And tonight you saw that we're going to try to figure out a way to help Francis with some things. So it really means a lot that you do that. And frankly, it keeps us afloat when you do that. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to continue to sign here and just look and see if the back office pops up any questions from you. Chrissy, hi. It's nice to have you here from Oregon. I've seen we've got people from all over the world hopping on tonight. And again, to those of you from Adventures with Purpose that have come over, please, I hope you'll hit the subscribe button tonight and join the Profiling Evil family. It really is helpful for us, and we really appreciate it. We look forward to continuing to grow, and we're going to just continue to do what we can to support you. I hope you like the new series that we have now. It's called Profiling Evil Live. We had so many fun suggestions, and looks like we got the back room going. So let's look at the back office for a minute. In fact, let's take that full screen and let's have them tell us a little bit about what's going on. So can we go full screen here, and let's see here. So this is, I think I've been overridden here, but I'm going to try it one more time just in case. So here's the back office. They're busy putting these books in envelopes, and we really appreciate it. We've got grandkids in the back room watching videos. Some of them are coloring on the board there, it looks like. And we are just busy getting all these things out. So all of you who have been so darn patient for the last month while we've been working through this, there I am doing my thing out here where it's a little quieter. All of you have been so darn patient. Thank you for being patient waiting. There's Tyler. We have a new member tonight. Will Martin's Missed Babies. So new YouTube member, a new member, channel member. Thank you. And again, it looks like I think I've been shut off there now, so I'll come back to me. But my thanks to everybody that came in tonight, and we I don't know how you repay them for something like that, but if you want a signed book, make sure you send it in. Let me just maybe if you'd like, I want to just read a couple of things from here. Would you like that if I read a couple of the parts of the book? Let's see. And there are still questions coming in on the Wests, and we're going to continue to follow that case in the West case as we are with many others. But I wanted to just read this author's note from the book because I think it really summarizes the challenge in writing something that is such a horrible thing, and yet try to put it out in a way that will benefit. And there are so many of you that are true crime enthusiasts, and I just appreciate it. Nicholas Kitchens, thank you for that kind super chat. We'll tell you how to get the book down below the banner. Go to profilingevil.com, and that is an exclamation mark at the end. So just profilingevil.com, and you'll be able to order it there. And orders that come in over the next couple of days, I'll continue to sign. We had Dr. Judy Ho on Monday night for choir practice, and she read some things that she wrote in the foreword of the book, and I am so grateful for Dr. Ho. Cherry Long, thank you. Would you ever consider writing a book on some of the well-known serial killers that you profiled? Actually, Greg Cooper and I wrote a book called Predators, Who They Are and How to Stop Them. And Greg is a dear friend who is also my mentor, but we have investigated cases all around the world together, including the investigation of King Tut. And in there, we talk about a number of serial killers. You might be able to find it, that one that we have been assured by the printer, Prometheus Press, that they are going through a little bit of work on it, and that will start to be published again. It's been held back for some updating and some editing, but that was out for a number of years and was very good. There also is another book where we talk about serial killers that I co-authored with 15 other criminal profilers from around the world, and it's called Profilers. And the lead author in that is Campbell and Denevy. But we'll continue to talk about serial killers. So I guess for some reason they just keep coming back, so we keep talking about them. You might have noticed that I did a little bit on Richard Ramirez in some of my discussions with Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. We will continue to do follow-ups on that, especially as Netflix plays out their series, because there seems to be a lot of questions in regard to that. This author's note I thought I'd read to you. It starts, "Some stories are hard to read, let alone write. It doesn't mean that they should not be told. This book is one of those stories. This memoir chronicles my investigation into a deviant religious cult of child sexual abuse. To ignore, avoid, or pretend such events do not occur is not helpful to victims, potential victims, or society in general. Awareness is the first step to healing and protecting victims, and ultimately bringing perpetrators to justice. Extreme details of this case have been left out. All that's important to know is that the events happened." And I hope that kind of helps you get a glimpse of how we tried to write this. So Chef Betsy, thank you so much. I can't wait for you to read it. And I can't wait for folks to start weighing in on what they think about the book. So let me see if there are a few more questions. We've taken a lot of your evening, and I probably should actually go and work in the back room and help stuff envelopes rather than do this. But what an honor it is to be able to spend some time with you and talk about not only the Randy Leach case, which has been very intriguing, but to also pick up and supplant where others have tried to work as well on the McKenzie case, and to hopefully bring Francis some comfort in that regard. So, and then of course all the other cases that we look at, it's really an honor to be able to do that. So to all of you who are ordering, thank you again. Over the next couple of days, if you order, I'll continue to try to sign. We originally thought we would stop at 500, but the response has been so overwhelming. We want to just try to do what we can to help out. And to each of you, thank you. I mean, you've been just so darn complimentary. And again, I'd be interested to see if you could weigh in. I want to kind of get a vote. So if you'd shout out how you feel about things. Bye to Linda. She's going to go call it a night now. But Linda from It's a Crime, thank you so much for being with us tonight. But if you're a fan of choir practice, weigh in. I'd like to know how you feel about the new series we started a month and a half ago called The Public Record. We've had a lot of fun doing that, and we'll continue to roll that out. And yesterday I kind of did my first knee-jerk live talking about the West case, and we'll continue to do Profiling Evil live, where we jump in and just chat about cases and get your impressions, and hopefully have a little more conversation back and forth as we do that. And then I'm really excited about, you met last night or Monday night, Taylor, who's going to be doing a little more in-depth research. She's a really awesome podcaster, and we invited her to come on and periodically come into choir practice and talk about bigger cases that we're going to be reviewing, starting with cases like the Night Stalker case, Richard Ramirez, and talking about some of the other cases that I've had the chance to work on and study, including we'll go into the Zion Society. So thank you. And thanks. Somebody said the live actually was Largy. Thank you that it worked out. We'll continue to try that, and I'll continue to stumble through the process and see if I can figure out how to get better at that. It, again, is so darn meaningful to have your help. So what is the public record? The public record is Profiling Evil's attempt at TED Talks, for lack of a better term. It's a way in which I can share a topic that is in the news, but get to the information quick, down and dirty, and share some of the challenges involved in it, and take that and deliver it to you in 5 to 7 minute segments. So hopefully you like that. Tamajan one, thank you, new member. Great to have you here. And now I'm being told to, I think I've signed all the books I have in front of me. So Tyler, if you're telling me it's time to come in and actually do work, I'll do that. So let's see. I'm curious. Deborah Deal is saying, I'm curious about Ramirez. Did you say that you met him? Yeah. I've actually interviewed Richard Ramirez. I became very close friends. In fact, one of the forwards to one of my books was written by a man named Phil Carlo, a New York Times bestseller called The Night Stalker. So I hope you've read that book. Phil actually, in writing that book, became close enough to Richard that he was his best man at his wedding in San Quentin prison. And Phil made it possible for me to interview Richard on a number of occasions. Nicholas Kitchens, wow, thank you so much. We'll use this money to give someone a book. We will definitely do that. As you saw tonight, we're going to give Francis a book, and we actually are going to make sure folks like at the Children's Justice Center and some other places get access to the book as well. And of course, the first people to get the book were the actual victims in this case, and what an honor to be able to sign a book over to them and send it off to them. So come here, sweetie, come say hi. So this is one of my beautiful grandchildren. Hi. And we're having fun tonight. So we're going to go back and get to work. And so to all of you, thank you so much. I appreciate all the support that you give me. We'll see you. I'm sure something's going to pop up in the next day or two on some things that we've prepared. And then we'll see you Monday night at choir practice. So until then, thank you. Have a great evening, and all the best.